Hi, this is Brett. I'm going to discuss some of the points that are generally referred to in my resume. Um, the big thing to start off with is the governance, risk, compliance, or GRC. That involves a whole lot of different activities and disciplines and other elements in order to get it to fruition. So to be effective, one of the key things is risk management, and that is first starts off with categorizing the system. In FISMA parlance, it uses FIPS 199 and 800 special publication 800-60. That's the first step. So you select controls that are appropriate to the system as agreed to by the risk executive, the system owner, etc. Next step is to implement. This is basically a plan, do cycle, a system life cycle is by any other name. Under the assessment, assessment is preceded by implementation. And at that point, you decide which controls to implement, which are pertinent and necessary for security of the system. This is followed by an assessment. This can be done either internally as a self-assessment or as an external third party does this to evaluate the system. Outputs from this are notably a finished SSP, a security assessment report, which gives the risk executive and as well as the program managers, etc., the overview of what the risk and operational security of the system is. From these things are generated POA&Ms, Plan of Action and Milestone. I have another video specifically addressing that. Following this is authorization, where the senior executive or the designated authorization official, actually, those types of titles, are provided with the risk assessments, the SAR, and SSP. Other documentation goes along with this from time to time to make this risk determination. You may see the SSP, risk assessment, contingency documents, disaster preparedness, and a variety of other documents as necessary at discretion, that is, being provided to these executives so that they get a full picture of what the risk and security of the system is. At that point, hopefully, an authorization to operate, or ATO, is provided. This is the nutshell of what compliance is in a security program is all about. From this, stepping off after this ATO, there are things to be important, such as security metrics and project management, things that are sometimes overlooked in security. Other development and integration disciplines, such as systems engineering, pay real high attention to those. Costs, schedule, resources, things like that. These are things that should be developed and designed into the system security plan, and they will become technically put into effect as a result of the controls that are specified in the security plan, for example. One of the key things that I provide, as well as that should be done by security professionals, is to mediate between the information security staff and other security organizations and the other groups that are other stakeholders, business owner, system administrators, database administrators, etc. I call this the translation effect of translating information security into verbiage that the stakeholder, which are maybe very disparate, but so that the stakeholder groups can understand. The security professional, the ISO per se, like myself, has to be able to interact and discuss and collaborate these topics with system administrators, database administrators, technical staff, but also bring these issues to the business owner, system operator, program managers, as well as the aforementioned executives. They have oversight over the system. Other things to do that fall into this relate with the controls are policies. Policies are usually a enterprise, executive, top-level organization type of product, but they must be interpreted and implemented to the lower levels and to the system. When choosing controls for the system, for example, there are three groups: common, hybrid, and system-specific. System-specific are the ones that are obviously applicable and necessary for the system to be secured. Hybrid are somewhere in between what is called the common controls. These are common controls, maybe things such as the electricity and other infrastructures. They may be the networks if the network is outside of the system's boundary, and things like that. So there's various groups that may be providing support, security support to the system under discussion here. So like I said, those hybrid controls can sometimes be quite interesting to determine where the rules and who's responsible for them. Certain tasks, they may be divided up between certain groups, so you have to pay very close attention to how they are defined and who is responsible for which portion of those common and well as hybrid controls. And then you have to go back and evaluate the gaps in your policy, as well as address any other specific policies or procedures that may be needed at the system level itself, and then evaluate impacts. And again, a typical system life cycle applies here also, where you plan, you develop, you implement, and then you have to go back and assess. Other things are important to the security are privacy, which is previously not quite part of information security, but on example under FISMA, it is included now. There are separate security frameworks that directly address privacy, such as HIPAA, and there are various levels of privacy, from things like personally identifiable information to personal health information, Privacy Act information, and others. In certain circumstances, privacy turns into secrecy, so those may actually become separately monitorable parameters. I've also talked about security assessments. They've popped up several times here in the risk management scenarios. I've been both an assessor as well as a system ISO, so I've been on both sides of the aisle when it comes to assessments. Assessments have to determine what is true and to find ways to improve the system security and to improve the documentation, such as the security plan. Assessments may insinuate or suggest additional controls, or to be added as well as to be removed. So those are kinds of things that need to be addressed during assessments. There will be interviews during assessments, as well as potential testing of the system to see reactions and output, and then there can also be reviews of documentation. For IT systems, testing typically is relegated to vulnerability assessment, vulnerability scanning, and or penetration testing. Penetration testing in my history has been really reluctant to be done, except on a very infrequent basis, because it takes a lot of effort and there's a lot of potential risk to the system if it is done improperly. So a lot of times that is delegated to an outside organization or a contractor, just because it needs to be handled properly. There's also a lot of legal documentation and procedures that need to be defined, rules of engagement, things like that when going through assessments, as well as especially with penetration testing. So those are things that also lean on to continuous monitoring. That goes at from anything from monitoring for changes to vulnerabilities, newly discovered vulnerabilities, new hacks, exploits. These things actually pop up in the mainstream news these days, but there are a bunch of outlets, media in information security, and authors and publishers, bloggers, etc., that provide this information. The trending in the federal government as well as other places is for a continuous monitoring, or what the new term continuous diagnostics and mitigation. In other words, a quick reaction. Time is your enemy, so determine when you're about to be hacked, or when you're about to get hit, or when there's problems happening. React quickly, fix the security, mitigate it, and then clean up later. That's it in a nutshell. Conducting system testing, I've already mentioned that, largely by vulnerability testing. If it's a development program, where there's developers or a contractor that's developing a system, this can be integrated into different module tests and quality assurance cycles, and depends upon the methodologies and type of development that's being going on. But that's also something to work on, because getting the security assessed early, addressing vulnerabilities and which otherwise are called bugs, are doing that early is going to save lots of costs and help for the quality of the system. Expert knowledge of security frameworks, best practices, and regulations. As I've already mentioned in this video, as well as other videos that I have recorded here, there are a great number of frameworks: COBIT, Sarbanes-Oxley, HIPAA, I've already mentioned, FISMA, I've mentioned, ICAP, and I've been involved in almost all of those. To any extent, in varying extents. So those are things that are determined largely by the regulatory background, but in some cases an agency may have to determine, or an organization may have to determine what is the level that they will participate. They may even have multiple reporting methodologies or compliance frameworks that they have to follow. So that really takes the main portion of the top of my resume. There'll be additional videos coming on shortly, as well as refer to the information info security master videos talking specific to principles and postures in the information security world. Thanks.